Hello, welcome to the Real Internet Come Forth YouTube channel. My name is Antoinette Smith and I'm your author. Remember to get your books, people. Some of them are on sale at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Google, Apple iTunes, Walmart.com, Target.com, Books A Million, Kobo, Indigo, and Tales. All of them come in paperback and digital version. Get your copies today. Do not forget about my new book release, My Jesus Experience, Our Journey. It comes with its own bookmark. Do not forget about my newest release book, Life After Losing a Child. It comes with its own bookmark. Do not forget about my Authors Collection box. This is the Real Internet Come Forth Authors Collection box. This is a 9-volume book series, 4 separate books. If you want one, let me know and I will get it shipped out to you. Stroll down and you'll watch the video that I tell you everything that comes in the Authors Collection box. This is the behind the scene Authors Collection box. It is a 5-part book series. It's the sequel to the Real Internet Come Forth book series, and we will be finishing up this series starting today. We completed volumes 1 and 2 before we did the other new books, and so now we're going to start on volume number 3, My Life as a Caregiver, How I Became the Best in My Field. It comes with this bookmark. I'm going to do like I always do. I always read what the book is about, read the chapters, and then read a chapter to you. Thank you for continuing to watch these videos. Share these videos with your friends, your family, and your loved one. Remember to send all your questions and comments and concerns, and I will address them live. Okay? My life as a caregiver, how I became the best in my field. It's the very core and heartbeat of me, the very essence of my being, my passion, purpose, pursuit, desire, and driving force as a caregiver is what has given me the strength, fight, tenacity, and audacity to live and defy all the odds against me. Courage to press through any and every situation or circumstance that has came against me. My life as a caregiver has taken me places I never dreamed of going and around people I never imagined to meet. This desire has created a life for me beyond my wildest dreams, which led me to my destiny. Sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and read how I became the best in my field. All right, I'm going to read the chapters. Chapter 1, Giving Purpose. Chapter 2, Seeing Purpose. Chapter 3, What Can I Do to Help? Chapter 4, Giving a Solution. Chapter 5, Who Am I Assigned to? Chapter 6, Provision Giving. Excuse me. Chapter 7, Character Development and Attributes Character Development and Attributes Process. Chapter 8, My Gift Made Room for Me. Chapter 9, My Rewards, Rare Moments, and Miracles. All right, we're going to read from chapter 1, which is titled Giving Purpose. Who then is Paul? Who is Apollos? But ministers by whom ye believe, even as the Lord gave to every man. I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then rather is he that planted or he that watered, but God that giveth the increase. Now he that planted and he that watered are one. Every one shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. For we are laborers together with God. Ye are laborers. We are husbandry. Ye are God's building, according to the grace of God given unto you as a wise master builder. I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereupon. But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon. For other foundation can no man lay than is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble, every man's work shall be made manifest. For the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire. And the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. If any man's work abide within he had built thereupon, he shall receive a reward. If any man's work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved, yet as by a fire. And that is 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 5 through 15, and that is the King James Version. Excuse me. The summer at age 5 was a twofold summer, to say the least. The beginning of the summer was when the molestation started in my life that altered my very course of my life, I thought. But God knew my end from my beginning. And the end of this same summer, my life was giving purpose. My father, the late Gentle Pendleton, Big Jim, as they called him. I called him Jim because I was raised calling my stepfather Daddy, like I heard my brothers call him Jim. It wasn't until I was 9 years old I found out he was my biological father. Now, he has always been in my life, taking care of me, picking me up, keeping me, calling me his baby. Those were his favorite words, my baby this and my baby that. He and my mom just assumed I knew he was my biological father because they both would say, "You're a daddy." But my mom said the same thing about our stepfather when he came to pick us up for the weekends, holidays, and summers. But my father, Jim, would always bring me to Western Mississippi 2 to 3 times a year, sometimes more. It just depends upon what was taking place. Now, my father would bring me regular because his mother, sister, 3 brothers still lived in Mississippi. My aunt and uncle raised me from 4 to 6 weeks until I was almost 3 years old. I still don't know the story behind that, but there I was. Now when I was born, my father was 52 years old, my grandmother was 76 years old, and my aunt that raised me was 54 years old at the time of my birth. At age 5, my father and aunt began to train me in caring for my grandmother. She was a new diabetic and required insulin shots and bathing. I first began combing and scratching all 3 of their heads in one day. They took turns. I started with my grandmother. I still remember the smell of her hair and the grease we used. My grandmother was mixed with Indian. She had curly hair. You apply grease to it and it curls up. She loved you to scratch her head and the top of her head. She had some type of birthmark I used to mess with all the time, but she would fall asleep as I scratched her head. If I would begin to stop, she would wake up and say, "Scratch right here," and Jeanette laugh out loud. She pronounced my name with a J instead of a T. My head scratching would last about 20 to 30 minutes, greasing her scalp and learning to braid and plaiting her hair, as they called it in Mississippi. Then my aunt would say, "Come scratch my head." Oh, how it itches me so bad. Now my aunt had good hair too. She wore a caffrey curl and she loved to dig in her head and apply caffrey curl moisturizer to her scalp. She too would allow me to practice braiding and plaiting her hair for 20 to 30 minutes. Each time I thought I was done, she would say, "Scratch right here." I was very impatient and wanted to go play. I didn't want to comb hair, scratch heads, or be in the house. And to top it all off, those were heads. Those head is next. Whose head is next? You right, my father. And to top it off, wait a minute, whose head was next? My father. That's right. Now, my father was already a trip. He would have me lay on his chest and pick hairs out of his face with tweezers as early as I can remember. And it was before this summer. I told my baby, he told me, wait a minute. He told me as a baby I loved to climb on his chest and play in the face of his and play in the hair in his face. I would laugh each time he told me that story because my aunt and my uncle said the same thing. I love to be on their chest and in their face. I'm still that way today as an adult. When I was married or in any sexual relationship, I always loved to lay on the man's chest and play in his face. I really just love to watch him as he talks. He has my undivided attention. You can thank my father and uncle for their behavior and character of grace and truth. I truly believed in giving my male counterparts my undivided attention by just focusing on them. I know they need that time to connect one on one because let's face it, women during the day and night, we're worrying and focusing on our children, the house, the job, the family, our grocery list, our hair, our nails, our friends. And when the man is needed and when the man needed us, we wore out and tired and have nothing left for them. So this is one of the greatest gifts and purposes my father, my uncle, my grandmother, and my aunt gave me, how to be a caregiver. Being a caregiver is defined in many ways. Caregiver, a family member or paid helper who regularly looks after a child or a sick, elderly, or disabled person. A person who provides direct care to children, elderly, sick, or disabled persons. Caregivers are typically professionals, home health aides, personal care aides, nursing assistants, in-home companions, or family members or friends who provided visual, vital, physical, practical, and emotional support to a person who is elderly, disabled, or senior. So you see a variety of duties and role as a caregiver would be performed. So my father knew that I was very, very, very impatient. He used to make me pick his face for hours. He would fall asleep. Just like my grandmother and aunt, as I scratched their head, would wake up and say, "Scratch right here, baby." Now that I think about it, he has always looked at his watch when he woke up. Maybe he was timing me. He used to make me sit at the table and play cards for hours because I would say I needed to learn. Because he would say I needed to learn to sit still and stop running around and act like a little girl. Well, I was a tomboy to the fullest. I climbed trees, played football, baseball, basketball, jumped off the roof several times. Whatever my brothers did, I did too. I was the only girl with three brothers and the baby, and I had to keep up with them. Now that I have learned how to scratch heads like a professional and pick facial hairs with tweezers and have a little more patience, I will increase in learning. Now at age 7, I was assigned to help my grandmother to take her bath. Excuse me. Now she fought me with tooth and nail because she declared she didn't need help bathing. She was 83 now. By my father, but my father said help her, and I was instructed to obey my father and not my grandmother. She told me to get out the bathroom. I told my father. My aunt came into the bathroom and said, "Mama, let Tuki help you get your bath." She argued, "I don't need your help." My aunt looked at me and said, "Help Mama get her bath." I said, "Yes, ma'am." So I was told, so I told my grandmother, "I would just wash your back, okay?" Only God knows how I was able to think to tell my grandmother that. I said, "Just let me wash your back, Grandma." I was thinking because I don't want to get fussed at by my father or my aunt. Neither of them would ever whoop me for anything. I was spoiled rotten by them and by my brothers. Laugh out loud. I know I was a little brat, but hey, I was the baby, their baby. To my father and them, I was a miracle child, a gift from God to them. And now I knew why they felt the way they did because, wait a minute. And now I know why they felt that way because I now feel that way too. But they are giving me purpose under the guidance of the Holy Ghost. I was operating in the anointing given to me to be a caregiver. Yes, I was anointed, but I had to be trained. You understand that? This is for all my anointed readers and wait a minute. This is for all my anointed readers that say I am anointed to do this and do that. But you also have to be trained to operate in the anointing to develop a character to balance your gifts. But that's in the whole nother book. I'll write about, maybe the Father would tell me to write a book about that someday. We shall see. So now that I assist my grandmother with bathing, dressing her, she said, "Thank you, Aunt Jeanette." I dried her off, lotioned her down, applied baby powder to her chest, and dressed her in her duster, slip panties, and house shoes. That is her daily wardrobe. When we came out, Grandma was walking in front of me with her cane. My aunt and father had the biggest smile on their faces. I think they might have been at the door listening to us. She said, "Time to eat?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. I'm hungry and tired, but my training was not done. My father said you need to watch Mama give herself a shot in case you have to give it to her." I was like, what? I hate needles. I mean, really hate them. When I was in third grade, I took my, wait a minute. When I was, when I had my third child, I took my baby to the clinic in our town, and the same nurse was there when I was a child. Now, you got to remember that I had my first child at age 13, my second one at 15, and my third one at 16. So the nurse wasn't old. I was just mature. Laugh out loud. So my baby needed his shots, and the nurse was about to give them. She said to me, I remember when you was in preschool, and at that time the school brought the clinic to the school to brought the children to the clinic to get the shots every year. She said, I had given all the children their shots, and looking for you, you was hiding. I said, did I get my shots? You said yes, and I got on the bus. I checked my paperwork and came and got you off the bus. I thought I brought you to my office and gave you your shot. You cried and screamed and fell on the floor like I was killing you. I had to get the other nurse to hold you down. We had this problem every year that you came. Do you remember that? She said. I said, no, ma'am, but I hate shots. She said, yes, since you were a child, you would run from needles, laugh out loud. We laughed and she gave my son his shots. And each time I went, I heard the same story. She would say, I can't believe I gave you school shots. Now I'm giving your children school shots. So when my father told me to watch my grandmother, I almost fainted. I closed my eyes and frowned up. He said, you can't see anything with your eyes closed. I said, I can't watch her. It hurts. My grandmother said, it doesn't hurt me, baby. I said I would pass. Well, they let me slide that day. But we were back to the next morning, me watching for breakfast. My aunt got the insulin out of the refrigerator, the needle out of the cabinet, alcohol pads, sugar machine, med box on the counter. I watched and followed her steps for breakfast. And by the way, my aunt wakes me up when she gets up. There is no sleeping in here. Get dressed, brush your teeth, start laundry. Yes, you read correctly. Learning to wash clothes at age 5. You have to understand my aunt, grandmother, and father were all elderly. So someone had to be trained to care for them. It was myself, my cousin, my brother Duke, that was 2 years old, 2 years younger than me, and my aunt adopted him after my mom came and took me back to Illinois. He was my uncle's son, so we were cousins first, but we consider ourselves brother and sister because my aunt and uncle were our first parents to have us from our birth. I think I was earlier when it came, but we both were weeks old. It wasn't that my father didn't love us. It wasn't that our fathers didn't love us because they absolutely did, but they wanted us to have a stable life and upbringing that my aunt and uncle could provide. So everything was about learning and living life. To take care of yourself, your family, your parents. They were all so bent they were all so bent and hugged and huge on family. Because my grandmother had her first child at 13 and birthed 6 children and gave them away, my father and his siblings found each other and their mother, and they took care of each other. My father was raised by his father, Amos, a Sioux Indian chief in Chicago. He said they had moved to Chicago when he was 16 years old, and he joined the army. He fought World War II. He lied about his age to get into the army. My father loved this country, and so do I. I love servicemen and women, but my father or his siblings didn't hate my grandmother for giving him up. They loved her for giving them life and birthing them. He is where I get my heart of compassion from. Why be mad, angry, or unforgiving? Have mercy on people. It's hard to live in this world and make rightful decisions when you have everything against you. My grandmother was born on January the 10th, 1900. My father, February the 1st, 1923. My aunt, April 5th, 1921, all in Mississippi into slavery. So there you have it. You can fill in the blanks if you choose to. And I'm going to end the chapter right there. Remember to get your books, get your books, get your books. Remember, we are reading from Behind the Scene book series, value number 3, which is titled My Life as a Caregiver, How I Became the Best in My Field. Remember, until we meet again, God gets the glory and I tell the story. Goodbye.